Well then, well then, well then. Ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be back. And if I had my singing voice on me, trust me, I'd be joining in with a Danny Roll chance. Listen, we better not get too ahead of ourselves. We don't want to be left with pie on our faces, shall we? But listen, sometimes you got to roll with it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the live stream tonight where we're going to have a bit of a gab about the weekend, a good weekend at Celtic Football Club. And it feels like, I don't know, it feels like this season we've not been able to say that an awful lot. You know, even the weekends that have been sort of good, there's been negatives to talk about. But this weekend, it just feels like there's a total unanimous feeling of joy amongst the Celtic support, and it's something that's been missing. So I'm glad that that's sort of returned, and I'm glad that we can actually have a live stream tonight where we get to talk about all those feelings of positivity and all those feelings of happiness. So yeah, join me as we do that. I'm going to get into the chat. We're going to get tucked in with the Q's and the A's, the way that we always would. And I also put up a video earlier on today. If you haven't seen it, I'll point you in the direction of that for after the stream. But let's have a good time here tonight, shall we? Listen, let's start with any news. There is no real further updates as of yet on the situation with the manager. We heard Martin O'Neill's comments, which I did talk about in today's video, saying he's not ruling out any sort of conversations with Dermot Desmond, and he'd secretly love to be in charge for the cup final. I think that's probably something that will be spoke about more realistically as the weeks go on. I made the point in that video, we're still over 40 days away from the cup final, and whether you are staunchly in the camp of wanting O'Neill to be managing for that cup final, or whether you're staunchly in the camp of wanting the new manager in and wanting somebody for the future, I don't think either side really matters at this exact moment, because it's the 3rd of November, that final is on the 14th of December. I think it's just far too early to tell what the situation is going to be. I think I think realistically, if I was to hedge my bets and I was to put my money on anything, I think it would be that Martin O'Neill will remain in charge until the international break, and then from the international break onwards, I think that's when we'll have a better idea as to whether or not it's going to be Martin O'Neill or if it's going to be somebody new. But hey, listen, we'll get to that in due course. But Martin O'Neill's not shying away from it. He's not shying away from the fact that he would be interested in having the job in a longer capacity. He still insists that it is only short term. But if things keep going well, you know, maybe there's a phone call to be made. Maybe something happens. I still think, if you want my bottom dollar on it, which I've already made clear in a video earlier today, if you want my kind of final opinion on it, I have no problem at all with Martin O'Neill being in charge up until that cup final. I really don't. But only if it means we aren't turning away our best options. I don't think Celtic can put the future on hold or turn down a potential generation-defining appointment or anything like that for the sake of sentimentality. So it's all circumstantial in my eyes. I think it all depends on who Celtic want and who they deem the best candidate, and if they can get that candidate. So for talking sake, I think if, let's just use a Knutson or a McKenna, any of these top tier candidates that a lot of people are talking about, I think if you can get one of them and the conditions are that you need to get them through the door and you need to get them through the door now, then I think you have to go ahead with that appointment. But if we can't get any of those sort of appointments that fans would see as the kind of the best, then maybe you stick with O'Neill for a bit. Maybe you do. But listen, I'm not getting dragged into it right now. I'm not going to get dragged into it at this exact moment. I think that it's something that we'll be able to tell over time. But apart from that, no real updates. Now, I see a lot of talk in the chat about Wilfred Nancy, who I have been a very public backer of this past few days. I made a video saying that I'm all in on Wilfred Nancy potentially being the next Celtic manager. And here, if he keeps doing what he done last night, you know, maybe he won't be available until December anyway, because they battered, his side, Columbus Crew, battered FC Cincinnati, or Cincinnati FC, I can't remember what way about it is, 4-0 in Game 2 of that 3-game playoff tie. So it's one apiece. It's going to a Game 3 back in Cincinnati to determine who makes it to the second round of the MLS playoffs. Very impressive performance. I know a lot of Celtic fans, personally, that I know were up watching that game last night, watching a bit of Nancy ball, and they were liking what they saw. So, hey, if he's still busy until December, could be a win-win. Gives you Martin O'Neill until the cup final, and then you bring in Wilfred Nancy afterwards, and then you start the new era. Listen, I'm not saying I'm a genius, but I think I'm onto something there. You know, I think I'm onto something. I am. Before I get into the Q's and A's, because that's the whole point in these streams, of course. I'm not going to lie. I am these last few days, I'm really getting sold on Nancy to a big extent. Like, kind of want him. Kind of becoming my number one target, I'm not going to lie. But hell, it is what it is. Right, let's talk to you guys. I've already done a video today, so I've already spoke about the news. I've already opened up with the first 8 minutes of this stream. Also, if you haven't already, go down below, hit like, hit subscribe. Especially go and hit that like button. It would be much appreciated. And let's get talking to the chat. Mackenzie's asking me to sing my Nancy song. Listen, I'm keeping it for if the moment comes, but I'm working hard. I've still not finalised the lyrics. I've not finalised the lyrics to it, but it's up here and it's ready to go if he somehow becomes the next Celtic manager. Why am I so high on Nancy? Honestly, listen, the more I read about him, the more I just get sold on his identity as a manager, as a coach, and the football he plays. And I just like the idea of us doing something a little bit out there again. And I know a lot of people are fear of going out and being different and making an appointment that's unfamiliar. But I think back to how special a situation it was with Postecoglou when he came in, and I can't help but escape the feeling of wanting that again. And wanting something a little bit out of the ordinary and something that really gives you an element of the unknown. His football seems good. He's won a big... he's already won a title in the MLS, which is a tough division to win. And I know people always like to still belittle the state of the MLS and American football. Not actual American football, not like throwing it, not like the Eagles, but American MLS soccer. But the quality has been getting better. It has been. And it's probably better than the quality over here. So, no, I just like him. I think that it's a real interesting one, a mouth-watering one, and I'd much rather something like that than a Craig Bellamy or something. I don't think by any stretch, can I just make it clear, by any stretch of the imagination, I don't see it happening. I don't think that's who Celtic will go for. It's just something that's, I'm high on Nancy. I'm high on Nancy, baby. Give me him, Nancy ball, so I can sing my song that I'm in the middle of writing for him. I see a good point from Matt O'Reilly. No, it's nothing to do with that. I like the idea of... I just like the idea of something different. I mean, the guy's French. You know what I mean? It's nothing to do with him being in the MLS or being in America. And we've had a good success with the MLS in recent years. You look at Alistair Johnston, who actually worked under Wilfred Nancy and gave a glowing review of him in the past. I'm just saying he's one of the guys that I'm interested in. He's not my top choice. He's not my top choice. But I think it's nice to keep your options open. I think it's nice to consider different people. And that's that. What's your point about Ronnie Dyler? Smell the glove. What's your problem with Ronnie? Ronnie, a very successful... Hold on a fucking minute here. I'm not having any Ronnie Dyler slander. Give me a fucking second. I'm not having that. We're holding the whole stream up here. I've seen Ronnie Dyler slander in the chat. Now, we're looking at a guy who has won the Norwegian Premier Division, a Norwegian Cup, 2 Scottish Premierships, Scottish League Cup, MLS Cup, and the Nixon Award Coach of the Year in 2013. So I won't have any bad words said about my Ronnie. Thanks very much. Cheers for that. Right, let's keep going. Let's move on. Let's get a lot of talk about a lot of different things. Don't say soccer ever again. I don't choose to use the word soccer at all. I would never. Soccer. No thank you. No thanks. Ryan, it's good to see you. Hi Ryan, from yesterday it seems like we have combated them, man-marking McGregor in these games. Thought Engels and Nygren was excellent yesterday as McGregor grew into the game and ended up scoring. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about like certain players in the midfield. I've seen a lot of people saying that Engels was good yesterday. I've seen a lot of people saying Engels was rotten yesterday. I think he's just one of those players that's difficult to nail down. I said it in my match reaction yesterday, and I stick by my thoughts. But I think the midfield played really, really well. I think McGregor is the highlight of how well that midfield worked, because that's the best he's played in a derby in a long time. A long time. And maybe that's just the way that he's been set up in the middle of the park. Or maybe it was just he was more bang up for it. I don't know. But he looked a lot better. A lot better. And that's the kind of Callum McGregor that we need. That's who we need. Thank you to Paul McLean for becoming a supporter of the channel. Appreciate it, Paul, mate. Welcome in. Good to see you. Good to have you. Fozzie for manager. He's done it in the Bundesliga. Well, has he done it in the Bundesliga? Listen, I love Mark Fotheringham, and I'm making it perfectly clear right now. I want to see Mark Fotheringham stay at Celtic. I'm all in for the intensity. If you're doing 3 out of 5 days, you're going to be my team. But I wouldn't go as far to say he'd done it in the Bundesliga. He was, he was like a very poor Hertha Berlin team, to say the least. Mark, good to see you, mate. How you doing? Ryan, don't you think the players seem really happy under O'Neill, and the coaches? Don't you think it's important when it comes to choosing the next permanent manager? 100%, yeah, it's got to be a consideration. I'm sure that the players will be the first ones to run to whoever's in charge of the decision-making process and say, hey, we're loving Martin. If he wants to stay, then, here's our thoughts. But they do look happy. They look really happy. And that's typical new manager bounce, isn't it? You always get that lift when something changes. It's all about sustaining it. And I'm pretty sure he will sustain that. He's a great character to work under. And behind Jock Stein, he's probably the greatest, or behind Jock Stein and Willie Maley, I should say, probably the greatest manager in the club's history. Certainly the greatest manager in the 21st century at Celtic. So, there's so many positives about working under Martin O'Neill. And of course we want to see that happiness. We want to see that spread across the team. Thank you, Paul, for upgrading to the 118 club as well. What a night you're having, Paul. Thank you. What a difference a proper manager makes. Listen, Celtic have had nothing but proper managers, bar the exception of Neil Francis Lennon, in the 21st century. We've been very lucky and spoiled, to say the least. Very much successful. Very much happy about that. Martin O'Neill for director. The Evil Genius raising a point. We were talking about this backstage yesterday, and there's Mackenzie saying it as well. I was talking about this backstage at ICW yesterday with a couple of the guys that support Celtic, and it was something that was floated, the idea of Martin O'Neill being a director of football. And genuinely, not against it. I'm all for that. But the thing is, and I think what you've got to realise when talking about that is, the Celtic board clearly have no intentions of appointing a director of football. It's why we've got Paul Tisdale in the role of head of football operations. But I would, and this is, I'm just making it clear right now, I'm not meaning to put down or belittle Paul Tisdale. I don't know enough about him from a footballing perspective to say he's qualified or unqualified for a job. But I would much rather have a Martin O'Neill in that type of job than Paul Tisdale. Paul Tisdale, who I don't think ever played at senior level. Paul Tisdale, who I don't think ever managed at senior level. Paul Tisdale, who, quite frankly, I don't have an awful lot of evidence to suggest that he knows his way around a football club. I know that he's apparently got a good write-up, and when he came to Celtic, we heard that he'd done this or that at different teams, and he was dubbed the football doctor. But you put that in comparison to somebody like Martin O'Neill, who as a player is a European Cup winner, who as a coach is a European finalist, multiple-time league winner, multiple-time trophy winner. I know who I would rather. And in this modern age of football, where it's all about stats and it's all about, the intricacies of the game, sometimes I truly do believe that the guys who know best are the guys that just know how to win. And Martin O'Neill knows how to win. So if there was ever a notion at the club to offer him that sort of position as a director of football, as a head of football operations, or anything in that line of work, I've absolutely, of course, put him in a line of work like that. But I don't think the club have any interest. I don't think they have any interest in doing up that department until there is more. And this is why, don't let a couple of good results, a potential League Cup win, and Martin O'Neill just kind of put all the problems to the side. This is a club in dire need of modernisation. This is a club that behind the scenes in every aspect is behind in major European standards. And no amount of Martin O'Neill wins is going to change that. And I won't forget it, and you shouldn't forget it. This club is behind the scenes an absolute tragedy. So, yeah, listen, they should consider something like that, but I don't think they will. Was there ever a Van Bommel approach? I've seen a couple of people mentioning Van Bommel in the chat. Celtic, it's one of these. Michel rejects the chance to become... Right, where's this came from then? I've seen Ryan McGinley's article on it, which is behind a paywall, so I can't read it. 5 hours ago, Daily Record, Mark Van Bommel rejects... Where's this came from? Hold on, I'm switching over screens. We'll have a look at this together. This has got to be a lot of shite, surely. Van Bommel rejects Celtic next manager chance months after Rangers talks. Van Bommel turned down the opportunity to seek Rodgers to Celtic, according to reports in the Netherlands. The Telegraph have reported that he's turned them down. Can I get it in English, please? Thank you. Passed up 4 opportunities to return to management. I'm not going to lie, lads. I don't think there's any truth in this. I think it's a lot of shite. It was a setback for Celtic when they parted with Rodgers last week. The Dutchman was reportedly offered a multi-million-dollar salary, but the former player... I don't believe that for a second, to be quite honest. I think that's pish. So, that's my opinion on that. Is Mark Van Bommel just trying to, hoor himself out? Is he just trying to, is he just trying to... Oh, there's talking about Mark Van Bommel. There's a reminder that Ajax beat us 5-1. I'm not even going to bother reading into that much. Would I want Mark Van Bommel as manager? No. I think that's just a classic case of let's help our friend get a job and link him with anybody. I don't think there's much in that. Anyway, back to actual good talking points. I don't want to talk about Van Bommel. Nathan asking, what did I make of the Engels comments about O'Neill saying everybody has a good feeling about the management now? Is it a dig at Brendan Rodgers? I think, I've not read Engels' comments in full, but what I will say to that is in regards to another comment that was made about, it was Callum Osmond who came out and said something that I think was grabbed out of... People were sharing a quote on Twitter, a line from a full piece of speaking. To shit myself there, I need to switch these speakers over. The big house must stay open indeed. I'll get to that donation in a moment. I think people have got to be very, very careful about what they're spreading and how they're spreading it. I've not seen Engels yet, so I need to see it. But people are grabbing things out of context and deliberately misquoting, and that's annoying in any way, no matter what the situation is. But there was people on Twitter sharing Callum Osmond's quotes like, "Oh, this is a clear dig at Rodgers," when literally a line before he was saying, Rodgers pushed me, and that was good for him. So people are selective of what they're putting out there. I need to go and look at Engels' comments. In all honesty, Nathan, I've not had the chance to read them, so I wouldn't actually have an answer to that. Thank you to Adam for the $4.99 donation. Can we give Maloney his flowers? Nobody mentioning his work. Good Aberdeen man as well. Do you know what I actually meant? And I'm actually annoyed that I forgot to do it now. But I actually wanted to give Maloney some of his flowers in my video earlier on, because. So I was driving while extra time was going on, and I think that there was a quote from James McFadden during the halftime huddle at extra time, and he was basically saying that Martin O'Neill was taking a back seat, and you could see it was Maloney that was dishing out everything. And I think that, we're all quick to talk about how good O'Neill's been and such. I think we also need to remember how well Maloney's probably done as an actual coach. May I also caveat that by saying Sean Maloney should be nowhere near the job as Celtic manager. However, we've heard so many good things about him as a coach. From both his time at Belgium, where I think it was Kevin De Bruyne who came out and said he's one of the best coaches he's ever worked with. And you're hearing stuff now probably about how good a coach he is still to this day. I have no doubts in my mind that Sean Maloney is a good coach, but there is a huge, huge difference about how Maloney is seen as a coach and then seen as a manager. As is it's the same thing when Rangers won the league and we're all like, oh, it was all Beale. It was Beale. He was the one. He put the cones out. He was the guy. He was the influential one. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't win the league. But then you see what happened to him as a manager, not just at Rangers, but then at Sunderland. Some people are meant to be coaches. Some people are meant to be managers. We have a classic case right now of Martin O'Neill being your traditional manager and Sean Maloney being a very good coach. I think Maloney has a more than made case to remain a coach at the first team at Celtic when the new manager comes in. I also add to that the new manager should get full say over his coaches is. I want to make this crystal clear. This isn't me against the idea of Fotheringham staying, Maloney staying, McManus staying, whoever. Whoever gets the Celtic job should be picking their coaching staff entirely. It's been a problem for years at Celtic. We need to have a manager who wants his men with him. Yeah, maybe you're told you've got to keep him because it keeps the identity of Celtic around, it keeps somebody that knows the club around. That's absolutely fine. But a manager should be coming in with his coaching staff. I fully believe that. So I don't think he should be made to work with whoever's there. But if Martin O'Neill puts forward a suggestion to the Celtic board, Sean Maloney deserves to remain as assistant manager, he deserves to remain as part of the coaching staff, then listen to it, keep him on. He's clearly a very good coach. I just don't think he's ready to be a very good manager. Hence the reason Hibs went the way it went. So, simple as that. Thank you to Celtic Champions for joining the Thunder Club. Welcome, sir. Also, on that note, there's your flowers, Sean Maloney. You deserve them. You've been a big part of the last couple of games. Where does this leave Kelechi Iheanacho? He's gone down the pecking order, asks Hypnotist. Good question. No idea. We'll wait and see. Damo asking, have I heard of Bobby Pearson? Good one, Damo. Good one. I really Connell asking a question about Callum Osman yesterday. Thought he was good. I liked him. I said it much earlier today in my group chat with the boys that we're off to Denmark obviously on Wednesday for the Michelin game, and I was saying to them in that chat, it's all about taking things at a game at a time. We have a very passionate support. That's the word they'll use. We have a support who, when things are good, we like to inflate it. And when things are bad, we also like to inflate it. It's natural. It's part of the Celtic bubble that we live in. You know, it's either things are either out of this world or things are incredibly shite. It's the way we've always operated. And I want us to be patient and to give these players time rather than float them up to be something they aren't and then they don't deliver. But I have high hopes for Callum Osman. I really do. And on the point of, I see Aidan asking, is he available for Thursday? I don't think he is. Now, I've seen some talk about people saying that he should be on the B list of players eligible for the game. But I'm pretty sure for that B list, you need to be trained at the club for 3 years between your 18th and 21st birthday or something, or between your 15th and 21st birthday or something like that. I don't think he is available, but don't take that as gospel. I need to do some reading into that and make sure that's definitely the case, but I don't think he is eligible as far as I understand. Jarvis, I felt bad. I didn't really get to talk about this yesterday in my video because I was rushing and it was a match reaction in the car. But Kasper was brilliant yesterday. He was absolutely brilliant. But I've said this time and time again about Kasper Schmeichel, right? Kasper Schmeichel this season has still showed plenty of signs that he is a great keeper. Plenty. Even in the games where he's made a total arse of it at times. I think back to Kairat Almaty. And do you remember that situation in that game where Callum McGregor fucking chipped it to him and there was a whole fucking arse and he made a mess of it. I think it was Mo McGregor's fault, to be fair. But he pulled off a couple of saves that dragged the game to penalties. He's had a really weird season, Kasper Schmeichel, but he was brilliant yesterday and he saved Celtic a couple of times. So this is what I mean about where I support that when things are good we inflate things and when things are bad we inflate things. The same people who were saying that Schmeichel was finished and is done is for the bin should really be giving him his flowers after yesterday's game. It really should be. Thank you to Bill Ingry Boy, 14 months a member. That is admired by myself. Thank you, admirable man. Engels finally seemed to be getting the freedom to show what he can do. Once again, still, it seems to be a mixed reaction about Engels' performance yesterday. I've seen a lot of people saying he was bad. I didn't think he was that bad. I thought he was fine. But yeah, he looked good on Wednesday in particular as well. And thank you, Baldy Prick, for being a member to 7 months. We've got about 5 minutes left of the stream, so keep getting your points in. We have over 400 live viewers. So please, if you haven't, go down below, hit the like button. It would be appreciated. We've still got a lot of questions. Do you still think Callum McGregor's finished, Ryan? I didn't ever say that he was finished. I said I was scared he might be finished. Also, I'm going to say at the same time that just because he's played well a couple of times doesn't mean his season's suddenly okay. He needs to sustain that. For all we know, against Michelin on Thursday, he could be shite again. So I like judging things over an extended period of time. I don't like judging things after 1 or 2 games. The conclusion of me being scared that McGregor might be finished came after 10, nearly 15 games of poor football this season. So suddenly after a couple of good ones, I'm not going to be like, oh, he's back and we're fine, he's fine. He's got a lot of recovery to do. He has. But I also said, and I'll come back to a point that I brought up after one of his poorest performances, which was the Braga game, I believe. I think it was the Braga game that I brought this up. I still have a part of me that feels like it might not even have been necessarily Callum McGregor who was finished. I think the way he was getting deployed in that midfield was adding to the problem. I said that. You can go and find it in whatever video it was. I think that part of the problem, look at making McGregor look so bad and why he was struggling so much, is because he was getting asked to do far too much in that number 6 role all by himself. He needs people in with him. He needs support in there. He's not a young lad anymore. His legs are not... Every single game you play, you lose a part of you in your legs. And Callum McGregor is losing that in his legs. He is. It's under, you can just, the way he moves around the park, neutrals can see it, so we should be able to see it. He doesn't move around the park the way he used to move around the park. So I think a big part of the problem was just how he was set up in that midfield under Brendan Rodgers. Will that continue to change going forward under Martin O'Neill? Of course I hope it does, because I want him to be in the team as long as possible. I love him, and he's a great captain, he's a great player. And then suddenly when you lose him, you know, you're gubbed. Right, and yes, Evil Genius, we do need to find a replacement for when the time comes, but hopefully that time isn't this season. I would love to get another couple of years out Callum McGregor if we can get it. I'm being asked about 12 different times if I've seen the stories about a Big Leo. I don't know who Big Leo is unless you're talking about my man Pope Leo, but thanks for the spam. Free shin in Inamura. Are we ever going to get over it? Are we ever going to get over it? Are we? Is Martin O'Neill going to start suffering the same abuse for not having him in the squad? Just because one played well in a friendly against Cork? You know? I'm just at the wind up. I'm at the wind up. But seriously though, like, I think we have to give it up. Atmosphere was good yesterday considering no Green Brigade and no boys. 100%. I agree with that, Liam. 100%. Ryan, in solidarity with the Not Another Penny campaign, have you taken to making your own homemade kebab pies? No, not yet. But I need to get myself down to Aldi or Lidl or whatever, and I need to get the Pie Sports pack. I need to get them. I'm missing my kebab pies dearly. Not had one in a while, which is annoying. So we'll wait and see. Scales was quality yesterday. Yep, Scales and Trusty, by the way, stupendous yesterday. Actually, this you'll notice I've got a new wee... I mean, it's no secret I'm an Eagles fan, right? But because of Austin Trusty's performance yesterday, I sourced this today. I found this and I was like, got to get it on the microphone for my boy Austin. Got to get it on there. Go Birds, Austin. Somebody send him that. Somebody somehow clip that and send it to Austin Trusty. Go Birds, Austin. Let's do this. Right, let's get a few more. I'll go for a few. We are coming up to the end of the stream, but I'll go for a few more questions, a few more minutes, because there is a lot to get over. Jack saying, I have to say, Sriracha, I think he was great again yesterday. We should try and sign him in January. I 100% agree with the last part. We should try and sign him. I think he's somebody who would be a welcomed addition permanently to this Celtic side. However, I did think that yesterday, particularly in the first half, I didn't think he was all that great, actually. I thought he was fine for large portions, but I didn't think he was as good as what I've seen him before. And I think that was maybe just the nerves of the derby coming into him for the first time. I don't know. There's a couple of times he got caught out in 50-50s and maybe positional problems kind of creeped in or whatever. But that's not me saying I thought he was bad yesterday. I just don't think he was perfect. But I really like him. I would love to see him sign permanently, to be quite honest. So if we can make that happen in January, I would put that high up in the list for Celtic. Him and Tierney, I think, they complement each other well in those roles as starting left back, backup left back, whatever. Thank you, Jake, for the donation. God bless the Celts. God bless the Celts indeed, brother. I appreciate the donation. I hope you're well, and I thank you for that. Thank you. Alistair Johnson for our next captain when the time comes. I still think it will be Kieran Tierney. But I would love it to be Johnston. But I think it will be Kieran Tierney if you're asking for my complete honesty about it. To be quite honest. I've got a Motherwell fan in, winding up Rangers. Love that. Love that. Mark McQueen asking the real questions. Do you think O'Neill has all the Celtic merch at home and picks which trackie he would to wear? He looked brilliant, he did. I can't get over him in his wee trackie. He's so cute. I love him. He looked great in it. It's just a shame that I'm not putting another penny into the club for now, because it looked good. He made it look fashionable. But until there's change, I'm not putting not another penny. Remember, ladies and gents, not another penny. Right, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up there, but thank you for tuning in tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's over 400 live viewers for a Monday evening. That's fantastic. Keep in mind there is a video that I put live in the channel earlier if you want the latest in regards to Martin O'Neill and the situation with him moving forward. But for now, that does it. Thank you. We've got a big week. I'm away to Denmark. We're going to be covering that Europa League game against Michelin. They're top of the group, remember, or top of the league, I should say. So we'll talk about that when the time comes. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday night, ladies and gents.